Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to explore a really mind-bending idea, one that challenges our most basic feelings about how the universe works. I'm talking about the very nature of travel and movement itself.
So what if nothing, and I mean nothing, is actually traveling? Think about it for a second. When you see a wave cross the ocean, the water itself isn't really going anywhere, right? It's just moving up and down while a pulse of energy passes through it. Well, this theory we're looking at today suggests that everything in the universe works just like that. So, what if movement, the very act of going from point A to point B, is just an illusion?
For centuries, our picture of reality has been pretty simple, right? It's like a marble rolling across a floor. The marble is the particle, the floor is space. Easy enough. But this new idea, it suggests something completely different. Imagine that floor is actually made of, say, computer pixels. To move that marble, you don't actually slide it. You just turn off the pixel where it is and turn on the next one in the sequence. See? The pattern of light moves across the screen, but none of the actual pixels went anywhere. And that's the core idea here. What we think of as travel is really just this fundamental network of reality updating itself. Okay, so if reality isn't this big stage called space, with little actors called particles running around on it, then what is the universe made of? Well, this theory proposes it's made of just one single thing: relationships. And this is where the idea really starts to get wild and separates itself from the pack. You see, most of modern physics starts with a thing, like a quantum state or a particle, and then it tries to figure out how those things relate to each other to build space-time. But this theory, it flips that completely on its head. It says the relationship itself comes first. That's the fundamental building block. From this one starting point, which it calls reciprocal coherence, everything else, I'm talking geometry, matter, all that weird quantum behavior, it all just emerges from that. So what is this fundamental ingredient, this single building block that supposedly creates everything we see? Well, the star of the show in this theory is a concept called coherence. Okay, so to put it simply, think of it like two tuning forks vibrating together. They have a relationship, right? Are they perfectly in sync? Are they vibrating in total opposition? Is one kind of leading the other? Coherence is just that. It's the description of that phase relationship, that you could call it a sympathetic connection between any 2 points in this fundamental network. And this is absolutely crucial. Coherence isn't just a simple on or off switch. It's this rich, continuous, wave-like relationship. And this is the theory's absolute ground zero, the starting point. We're not starting with particles, not with energy, not even with space. We're starting with just this fundamental web of connections. Okay, and this is where it gets truly mind-blowing. The theory proposes that from this one simple concept, these reciprocal relationships, you can actually build our entire universe, layer by layer. And this slide just lays out the cosmic blueprint perfectly. Right at the bottom, level 0, you've got your basic coherence relations. Now, when those relationships form stable, consistent loops, boom, level 2, the structure we call space just emerges. And those persistent, stable knots of coherence that form within that structure, that's what we perceive as matter. It's incredible. Even gravity is just a large-scale curvature, a gradient in the coherence of the network itself. And what's really cool is that this relational model gives us a structural explanation for one of the biggest mysteries in quantum mechanics. So, in this view, a quantum wave, it isn't some physical thing that's traveling. Nope. It's just coherence that's, well, spread out. It's distributed across a bunch of different pathways in this relational network. So, what's the other side of that coin? What's a particle? Well, a particle is just what we see when that same spread-out coherence gets localized or kind of pinned down into a stable, persistent knot in the network. All of a sudden, wave-particle duality isn't this big paradox anymore. It just becomes a question of the network's shape, its topology. Is the coherence spread out, or is it all knotted up? So, and this is the really crucial point. This brings us right back to where we started. Waves aren't things traveling through space. They're the visible ripple effect of the network itself updating and rebalancing its own internal rules, its constraints. Think about it. A change in just one relationship forces its neighbors to adjust, and that forces their neighbors to adjust. And that cascade of adjustments, that's what we see as a wave. All right, so we've seen how an entire universe can be built from these relationships. Now we have to follow that logic all the way to the end and ask the most profound question of them all. I mean, let's just pause for a second and really let the implications of this sink in.
If this model's even close to being right, then everything we experience, I'm talking about solid objects, the force of gravity that holds you in your chair right now, even the three-dimensional space you move through, it's all just an emergent pattern. It's like a compressed file, a simplified description of a much, much deeper and more fundamental system of relationships. And that, right there, leads us to the ultimate mystery. If reality is a system, kind of like a cosmic computer that's governed by rules of consistency, then what's its operating system? What is the single fundamental line of code that tells this whole network how it's supposed to update? That is the question that physics is still desperately trying to answer.
So, to wrap this all up, let's just reflect on this final thought, because it really reframes everything. Maybe physics isn't the study of things moving through a background. Maybe it's the study of what's possible within a self-organizing structure. This idea suggests that the universe isn't a collection of objects at all, but maybe a single coherent thought, just continually updating itself. And the laws of physics? Well, they're just the grammar of that thought.